The way you've been opening your technical presentations all this while has been totally wrong. Shocked? Thinking, what is wrong with the way I start my presentations? Why is it flawed? Exactly. Those questions. Those questions mean that I have grabbed your attention. I used a simple opening hack to make this happen. What is that hack? I'll tell you. But before that, having a strong opening is extremely important for a technical presentation more than any other kind of presentation. Why? There are two reasons for it. The first reason is the excess cognitive load. Technical presentations are usually dense, which means your audience has to put in a lot of effort to follow your presentations. If you don't break their mental inertia right up front, there is a chance that you will lose your audience even before you come to your main points. Second, technical presentations are perceived to be boring. We all know that when you make a technical presentation, your audience is waiting for it to be boring. They expect a lot of jargon, numbers, and monotone delivery. Unless your opening shatters that stereotype, there is very little chance that you will get their full attention right from the beginning. So how do you open your technical presentations in such a way that even the most distracted audience would want to pay attention to your presentation? The answer to that question lies in a very interesting book called Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. In that book, the authors say that humans are a constant guessing machine. They love to predict. But when reality differs from that prediction, they tend to pause, reevaluate, and pay attention to the new information. So this is what neuroscientists call as prediction error phenomenon. So the hack is to start your presentation with something surprising or unexpected. I can give you an example of this TED Talk by Cameron Russell, a supermodel who changed her outfit right on TED stage. Naturally, the audience was shocked and the presentation became memorable. Another interesting example is this TED Talk by Apollo Robbins, where he pickpocketed an audience member right on stage. Naturally shocking and therefore memorable. And the third example is this TED Talk by Josh Kaufman, where he played ukulele right on TED stage. In all these cases, audience expected something, but what was delivered was different, and therefore that triggered that prediction error phenomenon and made them sit and watch the presentation. I totally understand that these are TED Talks, the stakes are high, and the presenters naturally would want to use some really dramatic opening tactics. But then, as a regular presenter who makes educational presentations day in and day out, what are some of the opening tactics that you can use to create that surprise factor and ensure that you trigger that prediction error phenomenon? Let me give you some practical ideas. The first technique is to use a counterintuitive fact. Let us say there is a presentation on microbiome. Of course, you can open your presentation with a slide that looks like this and say, let us talk about human microbiome, and run the risk of losing your audience right from the start. Instead, if you say a counterintuitive fact, like say, do you know that 90% of the cells in your body are not even human cells? They are bacteria. Whatever you thought you knew about being human is about to change. Today, let's explore the human microbiome revolution. Now think about this. The moment you start by saying that 90% of the cells in you are not even human cells, you trigger that prediction error phenomenon. Because as humans, we expect that our body is comprised of human cells. When you say that it is not true, you make the audience wonder what is true and therefore they pay attention. The best part about this technique is it is very easy to implement. All you need to do is to go to ChatGPT and then type something like, give me 10 surprising statistics or surprising facts about the topic of your presentation. And you can choose from one of the 10 and open your presentation. It's that easy. The thing is, even if you use the most mundane opening technique, which is to start your presentation with a quote, you can still trigger that prediction error phenomenon by finding some way of going against that popular quote. For example, in this TED Talk, Tim Harford starts his presentation with a very mundane quote. The quote is, "To do two things at once is to do neither." Naturally, this quote sets up for a talk on multitasking. But then that is what your audience expects, and therefore there is no surprise, there is no triggering of that prediction error phenomenon, and therefore there is no attention paid. That is why Tim contradicts that statement by saying, in fact, everyone must strive to do two things at once, or even three or four. Now that shocks the audience, and therefore they start paying attention, and Tim backs up his claim by talking about how Albert Einstein worked on 4 different projects at the same time and published 4 different papers, and introduces a very interesting concept called slow motion multitasking. So even though Tim had started his presentation with the most mundane of quotes, he was still able to trigger that prediction error phenomenon by contradicting that popular quote. Now you can take this idea to the next level by adding another sense, which is the visual sense, by showing something interesting. For example, if you have a presentation on statistics where you talk about random chance and patterns, you can start your presentation with something as boring as this, and you can start with a definition of statistics and put your audience to sleep. Or you can start by saying something like, "It was 2010 FIFA World Cup. A statistician became world famous by correctly predicting 12 out of the 14 matches, including the finals. He was so famous that they actually built a memorial in his name. His name was Paul. He was an octopus, and this is the memorial built in his name." Now the question is, was Paul blessed with some kind of supernatural foresight, or was it just statistics? Today, let's explore how to separate meaningful patterns from random chance. Now think about the kind of impact this kind of an opening will have on your class. Now there is a way to take this even further. Before I tell you that, I am Ramgopal from presentationprocess.com. We help professionals like you create engaging presentations. I have put together a 5-day free email course called 10 Opening Hacks to Ace Your Technical Presentations. I will leave a link to that 5-day free email course in the description box below and also in the pinned comment. You can click on the link, sign up to that email course, and enjoy the 10 opening hacks, which are simple, practical, and are super effective. Now let's continue. So far, we captured viewers' attention by saying something. Then we showed them something. Now we will take it further by involving them. Now, to involve your audience, you don't really have to do anything major. You just need to ask a very simple question for which they need to raise their hands. That's it. For example, you can ask, how many of you here think that smartphones have made us less social? Please raise your hand. And of course, you also need to raise your hand so you can give a visual cue to them. Then you say, the largest study ever conducted on social connectivity shows that heavy smartphone users maintain twice as many close relationships compared to non-users. Today, we will explore the role played by technology in reshaping our relationships. Now, compare this kind of an opening to any drab opening with a boring slide. And let me give you another interesting technique. The technique is to do a short demo. The demo needs to be really short. Okay, that is the most important thing here. I still remember a very interesting experiment done by my science teacher when I was a young student, and you can imagine how many decades back that was. She came with a glass of water and a lemon, and she put the lemon inside the glass of water, and promptly the lemon sank. Then she took out the lemon and said, "Now let me do something different." She took a tablespoon of salt, put it inside the water, stirred it well, and then she took the same lemon and put it inside the glass of water. Now this time, the lemon floated. We all felt so surprised, so shocked, we almost started seeing the teacher like a magician. She said, "Now let's explore why this happens by studying a subject called density." Now, this was the moment I fell in love with science. Of course, she could have chosen an easy path and could have shown slides like this, which says what is density and how density is calculated, etc. Thank God there were no slides at that point of time. But now I'm sure there are a lot of teachers who use this route. See, in today's day and age, all the information we want is right around us. If we want to do some simple short demos for our science classes, we can always go to Google, YouTube and search for whatever that we want and we would get the answer. We just sometimes don't really feel like taking that extra effort. All I ask you is, if you feel that your presentations are not getting the kind of attention that you think they deserve, chances are that you may need to take that little extra effort in the first few minutes of your presentation to make a surprise opening and make them challenge their assumptions and therefore make them want to look at what you have to say. See, I can keep going on and can give you a lot of ways to open your presentation with impact. But then this video will go on forever. And that is the reason why I made that very interesting 5-day free email course called 10 Opening Hacks for your technical presentations, to ace your technical presentations. So just go ahead, sign, and then enjoy that free 5-day email course. And in the meantime, if you're interested in learning some useful PowerPoint tips for teachers that you can use in your next presentation, I've put together a playlist for that. I will leave a link to that right here on your screen. So all you need to do is to click on the link, watch that video next, and I will see you inside.